Welcome back to my channel. My name is Christina. I'm a social psychologist, and I work with leaders, coaches, and founders to work on their executive presence, their confidence, and their communication skills so that they can come across with natural confidence and authority. In today's episode, we are going to be talking about why your communication skills matter so incredibly much as an online coach, especially when you're working on coming across as credible, as confident, and as an authority in your space. Today, we're going to be really unpacking the psychology behind your mindset and your messaging so that you can start to identify your blind spots and start working on communicating in an authentic and coherent way so that you're actually coming across the way that you intend to and resonating with your ideal clients. Let's get into it. By now, you're familiar with how important communication is. I mean, I hear it everywhere. Your communication skills matter. Your body language matters. But there seems to be this focus on superficial tips, superficial hacks, faking confidence, working on changing the way that you deliver information as if that is going to magically fix everything. Now, as a social psychologist, I'm here to tell you that's just not the case. And if you've spent hours watching any sort of how to speak like the elite, public speaking hacks you've never heard before, any of these types of videos sound familiar to you, you've likely tried them and they likely haven't worked. And there's a reason why. You see, your psychology matters because it is the driving force behind all of your actions. So yes, it is important to learn how to speak better. It is important to learn how to reduce your filler words and to come across with conviction and confidence so that you have influence when you speak. But it's not enough to focus on that, because if your underlying mindset is wonky and is out of touch with what you're aiming for, there will be resistance and your message will not come across the way that you intend. So let me break this down for you. Okay, your psychology matters so incredibly much. It is literally the driving force of all of your behavior. And your psychology isn't just what you think. It's not just about what you believe in the moment. Yes, that is the top layer, but you have to go under it. You have to understand the why behind why you think the way you do, why you hesitate in certain moments, and why certain things lead to self-doubt. Now, the types of coaches that I work with, they are smart, high EQ coaches. They are individuals who have had life experience. They've done really amazing things in their work before moving into the coaching space. And even though they've accomplished these really cool things, they have all this expertise. When it comes to all of a sudden showing up as a coach, showing up online, sharing their expertise in a way that's raw and real, it becomes very uncomfortable. And something about the camera in front of them, something about saying it to the deep, dark web of the internet that you don't know who's going to see it or how many people, it becomes scary. It becomes intimidating. And their true self, their natural self, if you will, doesn't come across in those videos. And then it ends up being a cycle, a vicious cycle of you're not showing up authentically, you're not resonating with your ideal clients, your business isn't growing, you're doubting yourself and your ability to succeed as a coach, which makes you feel resistance to record the content, which makes you doubt yourself more while you're trying to record, which makes you even less attractive to your ideal clients because you're not in coherence with how you actually are and how you should sound when you speak. And it's a vicious cycle. Let me know in the comments if this is resonating for you. And hey, if it is, there's a way out. And I know because I've been there. You see, when I first got my PhD, when I first got my doctorate degree, it was a very interesting experience. And it took a little bit of work on my end to go from I've been in school for a decade to I am now a doctor with all this expertise and knowledge. And it was a very weird shift to go through overnight. But then I had never been on social media. Yes, I would consume content, but I had never posted content because I was a very private and reserved individual. And so to now show up as an authority, to show up with this expertise for the first time ever was a very intimidating experience. And some of the first types of reels that I tried to record were terrible. They were awful. They were just, but I still posted them and I still had to overcome my own inner self-doubt. But regardless of where you are in the process, what I really want you to understand is this. Your communication skills are just the visible layer of what you actually think and feel. But here's the thing everyone seems to overlook. Yes, it is important to work on your communication skills, but your communication skills are just a reflection of what you actually think and believe about yourself. Now, hear me out. If you work on your communication skills, right, you work on the frameworks, the pauses, the reducing your filler words, that is amazing and it will help you progress, but it is not enough. Because you see, your psychology is the driving force behind your actions. So while you work on your communication skills in a safe context, when you show up in these contexts that give you anxiety, that cause you to feel uncertain, that accentuate the self-doubt that you're feeling, well, the communication that you practice kind of goes out the window. And again, let me know in the comments if this has happened to you. You might practice, rehearse in front of the mirror. You might put up your phone and record 30 different reels and feel like you wasted 6 hours saying the same thing. And yet when you get on a live, when you're doing a webinar, when you get on a client call, all of a sudden the same communication confidence just isn't there. And that's because your psychology is driving your actions. And so if you are in a context that is causing you to doubt yourself, if you're in an environment that is causing you to question your own expertise and ability, that will always come through in the way that you communicate, because it comes through automatically and subconsciously. Okay, let me say that again. The way that you communicate will always be a reflection of what you are thinking subconsciously. And that's why you might feel confident and super sure of yourself talking about specific things. And then all of a sudden, when you need to give advice or you need to maybe question your client a little bit and give them some conflicting advice that you're not sure if they're going to take well, all of a sudden that hesitation leads to a change in how you communicate. And if you're not aware of the fact that this is happening, you will misinterpret it and sit there feeling like, what just happened? Where did all this self-doubt come from? Why did I hesitate to say this? Why am I so bad at coaching people when in reality, there's a completely different mindset that's happening underneath the surface, okay? So the first thing that I really want you to understand is that, again, your communication is a reflection of your mindset. So you need to align your mindset with your messaging for it to come across as coherent, as natural, as confident, okay? You have to get the two on board. So how do we do this? The first thing that I'm going to recommend is that you just pay attention to what are the moments where you are feeling that self-doubt. What are the different types of situations that make you feel like all of a sudden you're saying a bunch of filler words? All of a sudden you're watching your words and you're softening your language and you're coming across as passive and your expertise just isn't shining through. Just start to pay attention and develop that self-awareness of where that is happening and in what types of situations. And when you understand the patterns, when you understand the context, that's when you start to see what the underlying mindset issue is. If you feel like you're super confident recording videos because there's no one there, but speaking live gives you like the worst anxiety of your life, well, that's a pattern that has underlying meaning that you need to work through, okay? The second layer that we're going to build on is that once you identify what your patterns are, once you start to see what your triggers are and start to work through them, the next layer is to add on the better communication skills. So yes, it is important to feel confident in yourself, but it is equally important to be able to communicate and convey that confidence in a way that propels your authority forward, in a way that shows your expertise, in a way that boosts your credibility, rather than in a way that sort of rambles or comes across as perhaps self-centered or conceited, right? Your communication skills matter. And they matter if you're able to communicate effectively or not with your clients, on sales calls, with prospective clients, whatever the case is for you. And so what I'm going to challenge you to do for this next layer is really start to then identify what actual communication mistakes are being made. And so in layer one, when you're looking at the patterns of what situations are triggering you, in layer two, you're going to start to pay attention to what mistakes am I making? Am I using a bunch of filler words? Am I softening my language and saying, I think, or I suggest, or things that make you come across as passive or timid? Are you rambling and talking in circles and hesitating to get to the point? Like, what are the actual, tangible, practical communication mistakes that you're making? Because once you know those, that's when you can start to work on them. And what you'll find is by self-assessing these two layers, you will start to get into so much more coherence and alignment between what you actually think and how you actually want to come across. Now, if you'd like to take this one step further, I would challenge you to think about layer 3, and that's authenticity. You see, regardless of where you are in your life, how long you've been coaching, what type of amazing things you have accomplished, everyone has moments of self-doubt. Everyone has fears and hesitations, especially when it comes to being seen in a new context for the first time. So yes, the types of coaching clients I've worked with, they have done really incredible things. They have had incredible professions. And now doing coaching for the first time is a transition. It's a new environment. It's a new type of context in which they're being seen and a new type of credibility that they're building. Yes, with clients, but also with themselves. Because it's one thing to go through your life having learned things and done things and overcome things on your own. But it's a slightly different game to be able to teach that and to train others through the same process, especially if you're just starting out, especially if you're doubting yourself, especially if you're not sure if you're doing it well, and then you're tracking your hesitation and your filler words and your miscommunication and your sort of faults instead of focusing on the amazing progress that you're making. And so, layer 1, assessing what is triggering you. Layer 2, assessing the communication mistakes that you're making. And layer 3 is understanding yourself and how you actually want to come across. If you were not facing these fears, if you were not full of that self-doubt, if you were not critical and full of self-judgment, how would you want to come across? Because the reality is, not everyone wants to come across the same way. Some people love the concept of coming across as bubbly and personable and high energy. Some people hate that, and they want to come across as cool, calm, collected, grounded. Some people want to be motivational, inspirational, storytelling, drawing on the emotions, drawing people in to feel something and have resonance. While other people, they don't want to tell a story to save their life. They would rather stick to facts and expertise and sharing strategies and frameworks. And if you are sort of in the space of consuming content, if you are in the space of trying to figure out who you are and how you want to come across and how you want to be seen and what you want to be known for, you might be inadvertently making the mistake of consuming everything and mishmashing different styles, trying to replicate what you see as viral or successful by someone else without fully understanding and comprehending the fact that it's not quite in alignment with how you actually want to become across if you were honest with yourself and not if you were just trying to follow the path of what you think is viral succession or viral success. And the thing is, every personality is possible to be successful. Every strategy is possible to be successful. There is no one size fits all. And it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking this person or this guru or this advice is what I need. And if you're like me, when I first started out, I was frustrated. I had so many conversations with my friends being like, I don't get it. This person's recommending this and that person's recommending this and this strategy is this and that person is doing this and it's too much and what do I actually do? And it's so incredibly frustrating to be in that situation. And if you're finding yourself there, what I'm going to encourage you to do, and this is what I did as well, is to slow down and to self-assess and to really have some discernment around how do I want to come across? How do I naturally actually communicate? For me, I had to come to terms with the bubbly personality, the super motivational speaker. As much as I would love to be able to replicate that, that's just not me. I've got maybe a sprinkle of motivation, but a lot more calm, grounded energy. I would love to be able to, hone in my motivational speaker who can yell at the camera and give you all this like cutting information with it's just not who I am. And I had to come to terms with that. And then rather than feeling bad about I'm not recording content like this person, or that person is viral and their content is like this, and why can't I replicate it? And I'm trying to speak to the camera and I'm just getting frustrated. And rather than going through those cycles that add to your self-doubt, it's giving yourself the permission to be who you are. It's giving yourself the permission to tap into your natural strengths rather than faked confidence. Okay, so those are the 3 layers that I really want to encourage you to work on, because all of this adds to your coach presence. Now, when I work with corporate leaders, we work a lot on their executive presence. And it's just a norm in the corporate space. The higher up you get in leadership, the more your executive presence matters. And I noticed this really interesting pattern that the same types of things I'm working with corporate leaders on with their executive presence is the exact same thing that coaches need for their coach presence. And so it's been a fun transition to work with both corporate leaders and coaches and founders who understand that their presence matters. Because again, the types of coaches I work with, like, you have amazing experience. You've done some really cool stuff in your life. And now you're just figuring out how to have that executive presence, that coach presence in how you come across in this new venture that you're on with your business. And that's not to say that you can't figure it out. It's to say that this is your permission slip to do it your way. Because every single strategy is possible to be successful. Every type of personality finds their audience and their resonance with their community online. But the longer that you hold off, the longer that you try to fake it, the longer that you try to fit yourself into a box that is not designed for you, the worse you'll feel and the longer it will take to break out of it. So again, this is your permission slip to really give yourself the full understanding that your mindset, your psychology is driving your behavior. So get your mindset on board so that your messaging can click into place. And once you have your mindset and your messaging in place, that's when external influence becomes so much easier, because it's from a place of grounded confidence. It's from a place of natural authority. It's from a place of coherence. All right? It's coherence between how you sound, how you speak, how you think, and how you naturally lead. Now, if you are interested in figuring out what your coach presence actually is like, if you want to find out what type of coach presence you have and what your dominant style is, I'm going to link the quiz that I've created down below. It's a really fun short quiz you can do that's just going to help you figure out what your natural strength is and what you should lean into when you show up with your coach presence. Okay, if you're curious, check it out. It'll be linked down below. Let me know in the comments how this resonated and what layer you're starting with and which layer is the hardest. If you get stuck, come back, comment. I can make a follow-up video. I'll leave you some suggestions in the comments if you need them. But again, your psychology is driving your behavior. There's absolutely zero doubt in my mind that that is true. So when you get your mindset on board, your messaging becomes so much easier to get behind. And when your mindset and your messaging are aligned, it turns into external influence that actually works. All right. I hope you found this helpful. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.